Hi, welcome to Microsoft Virtual Academy. This is the session on software development fundamentals. We are heading into Module 7, where we're going to get really practical with you. My name is Paul Party. I'm a content development lead, and I'm here with one of my direct reports, Jerry.
Hey, thanks, Paul, and welcome everybody to Module 7, which for the Software Development Fundamentals Jumpstart is our final module. And this one we've called, Is This For Me? And as we take a look at the name of that one, if you haven't attended any of the previous modules, then it probably doesn't make sense to you as to why we're asking that question. The reason we're posing this one is because what we want to do is kind of give you the opportunity to reflect on the entire Jumpstart, look at what you've seen so far, and decide if software development is something that you want to pursue as a career. Again, I wanted to reiterate a little bit as we take a look at what we've covered over the previous 6 modules. We are focusing on trying to help you understand what you need to know to get into software development, and specifically this one is focused on our Microsoft Technology Associate exam, so MTA exam 98-361, which is Software Development Fundamentals. If you have an interest in taking it, if you're going to be attending school and it becomes a part of your curriculum at that school, or this becomes one of the classes that you might take, this whole Jumpstart will give you a really good high-level overview of what you can expect to learn in the classes that prepare you for that certification, and what you need to know at a core foundational level to start developing software applications. So we've covered some very core fundamental concepts here that are important that every developer needs to know. We haven't gone incredibly deep on each and every concept that we've covered, but this is again designed to be introductory material to not scare you off, but kind of generate interest. So that's why this question, is this for me? Based on everything that we've covered from modules 1 right through till module 6 to here, we want you to be able to answer this question for yourself. And maybe to kind of help you a little bit, we've kind of brought up 3 final bullet points that we want to focus on. And we want to talk about the day in the life of a software developer. It's all well and good to look at the content we've presented here and to say, hey, this is kind of neat. Yeah, I've looked at some of that stuff, and I think I can do it. Technically, I should be knowledgeable enough to step into this, and I understood kind of some of the stuff that you focused on in here. But it still doesn't tell you what you can expect to encounter on a day-to-day basis, sitting at a desk in front of a computer, writing code as your career as a software developer. So we want to talk a little bit about what you can expect to encounter, when you get employed out in the industry. Notice I didn't say if, I said when you get employed in the industry. And we'll talk a little bit about the types of opportunities that are available as well, so we'll cover that kind of in the same vein as what you can expect on a day-to-day basis. And then we'll close out with some links and some pointers on how do you get there from here. So how do you become a software developer? How do you start looking at resources that will help you prepare more for the exam, help you prepare more for what you need to do in software development, and to get your skills ramped up and learn a little bit more. I'm a firm believer of one thing, and that's never stop learning. If I used to tell my son, he's 20 years old, currently in college right now, pursuing a degree in aerospace engineering, and I tell him flat out, if you have a day that goes by that you haven't learned something new, you consider that a wasted day. Try better the next day. So seriously, just constantly learn. Take a look at the links that we have at the end of this. Drive yourself forward. Learn more, and never stop that passion for trying to get to where you want to be. That's what drives you. That's what gets you there. So taking a look at the day in the life of a software developer. Really, when we focus on this, it's, what is it like to be a software developer for a career, or maybe what is it like to call yourself a software developer even as a hobbyist? As an example, for myself, my day-to-day job here in our learning experiences team at Microsoft, I focus on developing training and working with others who develop and write content for training. These MVA Jumpstarts, working with people to put these together from an educational perspective to teach folks who want to learn the technology all of the ins and outs of it. So we develop training content, we develop all kinds of sessions and different ways of form factors for you to learn the material. But I do software development now as a hobby. I used to be a software developer and a consultant on a full-time basis. I used to sit, at a desk all day long and punched out code and different things like that. And, now I'm more focused on trying to help those of you who want to learn how to get there. I've learned kind of the hard way. I've learned everything on my own as opposed to attending schools to get, university degrees and things in programming. So I try to make things a little bit easier for you from that perspective. But I also have sat in that chair as a software developer and taken a look at what programmers need to do, what the daily basis, what it looks like, to do that. And it's not always sitting down in front of the computer and just writing code all day long. In the earlier modules, we talked about dealing with the application software development lifecycle and focusing on application specifications, writing technical specifications. So you might find that as a software developer in the industry, you might only spend 30% of a day writing code, and the rest of it is all focused around talking to the architects or talking to testers or talking to database administrators about what it is that you need to do. So software development is not a sit at home in your parents' basement in your pajamas developing code kind of an endeavor. Certainly there are lots of folks who do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. If that's what you want to do, go ahead, and you can still be productive, and you can create the next great Windows Phone application that way. But if you're working in the corporate environment and that's where you're going to be focusing on your development efforts, know that there's going to be interaction with other folks on the team, and you'll be dealing with code, you'll be dealing with documentation, you'll be dealing with all kinds of issues and stuff. And you might even have to go through the process of setting up your own systems and your own test servers. So there's an understanding of computer software and hardware just to get to that point. And Paul, you've worked as done some software development in the past. Anything you want to add on that?
Well, the thing that comes to mind is just a quick anecdote about my first software development job. So prior to getting a job in an actual corporation, I had done a lot of volunteer work, which I actually recommend. It's a great way to get your feet wet, to try out some things. Volunteer opportunities are legion. There's a lot out there, so it's a good way to test your skills and work with other developers that are doing that same kind of work. But before I'd gotten into an actual corporation to work, I had done a lot of volunteer work, and then decided to go back to graduate school to get an MA, and I dropped my new baby and wife off at her parents' house, and I go down to the school to start canvassing for work, and all I had under my belt was just some volunteer work in the computer industry. So I found a job that looked kind of interesting, and I had been looking for a couple months. I couldn't find anything. And so I remember picking up the phone and calling this one organization, and I kind of explained what my background was, and the guy on the other end of the phone said, well, you just don't really have the experience, so I think I'll pass. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll work for 2 weeks for free, and if I can't pull it off, then you can let me go. I'll walk away, and there's no obligation. And there was silence on the other end. He says, okay, show up on Monday and we'll see what you can do. So I wouldn't recommend taking that approach, but the volunteer work actually got me some opportunities that I don't think I would have had otherwise, and I learned a ton by working in those circumstances. So that might be a great place for people to start.
Yeah, and so great insight on that, Paul. And like I said, everybody that is doing software development today probably has their own story about how they got started in doing software development, what piqued their interest in doing it, and kind of why they want to keep doing it on a day-to-day basis. When you stop and think about the types of opportunities that there are in the industry to do software development, it's not always about sitting down and writing the next operating system or writing the next version of Microsoft Word. There are all kinds of different things that you can do as a software developer that are not focused on productivity-based applications. We have, just in the Microsoft environment, we have folks who are software developers in what we call test. And that's what they focus on, is they focus on writing code that tests the code written by software developers for the application. So you might decide that that's what you want to do. You don't really want to sit down and write code for functionality. You want to sit down and write code that tests other people's code to do things. Taking a look at our Microsoft Studios, which I think we've changed the name to 343 Studios now, if I remember correctly. We've got games developers that sit over there. But just looking at developing something like the Halo game, as an example, it involves more than just somebody writing code. We've got graphics design folks, we've got animators, we have folks who deal with the whole production of it, audio and video and different aspects of the whole game itself. And the programmers are just one aspect of it, but they're the folks who sit down and write the logic for how things happen in the game. If you, as I tell my son, I get incredibly frustrated when I play these first-person shooter games because I'm getting old and my reflexes are slowing down. I say, I know I shot that guy, but he killed me first. Why did that happen? Well, some coder in the background who's developing that Halo game had to determine that I was wrong and he was right because my bullet missed that guy. And the reason being is because they've written that logic that says, if he was aiming at the right position and he was within certain parameters and he squeezed the trigger at this particular point in time, then we call that a hit, right? So these are different things that the developers focus on, is sometimes the logic behind that. So, productivity applications we talked about. We talked about coding for game development and things like that. Mobile applications. That's a huge market that continues to expand as more and more people come on board with smartphones and tablets and mobile devices and things like that. So the opportunities to write code for software applications are pretty much almost limitless, and you've got a wide range of things that you can be doing from that perspective. So you go on to your local career sites and you do searches on programming or software development. You'll get an idea as to what comes back in terms of job titles, but also read the job descriptions, and those will give you a good idea of what it will be like in the day of a developer, maybe at that specific company only, but those job descriptions lay out what you will be expected to do on a regular basis in that job.
Yeah, and in Module 4 we covered web development, which is a great way to get your feet wet in software development in general. Start out with HTML, see how that works for you, see if you like coding in HTML. You can get instant gratification because you can create a web page and then view it in the browser on your local computer, and that's a great way to figure out whether software development is for you just by trying basic web development. And again, just review Module 4 if you're interested in that type of development.
Yeah, great input. So now let's take a look at the next section here. We want to talk about, how do I get there from here? So we've provided you with, a fair bit of information over this entire Jumpstart. If you've watched it from beginning to end, that talks about software development, that talks about the different aspects of it and what you can expect. And, maybe now you've come to the point where you said, yeah, this is for me. But where do I go from here? You provided some basic information. I need more. I need to learn more. You talked about this certification exam. What the heck is it? So we've added a few slides here at the end that will kind of help you understand how really to get there from here, how to become that software developer from this starting point. So training resources. If you're, again, this MVA, this session was focused on the MTA 98-361 Software Development Fundamentals exam. If you're considering going for that exam, whether you have taken the training in your school, whether you had hoped that what we provided you was enough to pass the exam, which unfortunately it's not because we went over stuff rather quickly, I recommend you go out and use this link that you see at the top for the Student Study Guide. And this study guide was written specifically for that exam, meaning it took a look at what would be tested on the exam, and it provides you with a good set of examples for you to read through and look at, and code examples for you to input and try in your own computer. You should always take the theory that you've learned and really reinforce it with hands-on experience. So take the information that you see with that self-study guide and go ahead and start plugging this stuff into your development environment and gaining experience with using it on your system so that you kind of reinforce your learnings. And it makes it much easier if you want to pass exams later. Obviously, reinforcing that information is good, but the more practice you do, the better you become at stuff, and the more things that you find that you can expand your knowledge on. If you're the type of person who says, well, yeah, but I'm no longer in school, I'm not in high school, or I'm not in a community college, and so the training, this self-study guide, that training is not available to me, we actually have a Learning Partner channel out there as well that offers a training course itself. So 40361 is a course that's specifically designed to train you for this exam. If you click on the link that you see there, these are shortened links so they don't go really long. You can take a look at what that course covers. And again, the outline will pretty closely match what we covered in this Jumpstart, but it'll give you a deeper understanding of what you could expect from sitting in that classroom training and having an actual instructor sitting up in front of the class, giving the lectures, and then helping you through the labs themselves. If you want to know how to find that class, to schedule one, that link for Find a Class actually takes you to our class locator functionality on our website, where you can put in the area, your zip code from where you're currently located, anywhere around the world. And what it does is it will link you up with our learning partners around the world that are offering that specific class. You can search for classes in your location, and you can take that training there. The last link on this slide is for Khan Academy, and if you haven't taken a look at Khan Academy yet, it's probably a good time for you to go see what they offer. Everything on Khan Academy is free. You just need a web browser. You don't have to sign up for Khan Academy, but you can sign up for it. No cost to you, and there's really great content on there. I really love what Sal Khan has done with this. We've had him in to visit here at Microsoft, and he's talked about the platform and his vision for this. And although he's not the only person doing videos on there, there's just a ton of good training information. And the link I've provided here is about computer science and programming, where you can go and look at more information on the core basics, foundational concepts like we've covered in this Jumpstart, and some of them can go deeper than what we've had the opportunity to do here as well. A few more suggested resources for you. There is a study group for the 98-361. This is where you can create study groups, get hooked up with other people like-minded who want to take this training and who want to help each other through the training and to pass the exam. And working with peers on this stuff is a great way of getting it down pat and understanding these concepts very well. You can bounce ideas off each other. If you're not clear on a specific subject, maybe somebody else understands it better than you do at the time, and maybe they can explain it to you in a really good format. I also list MIT Open University here because we have a lot of the major universities, especially in the US, who are starting to open up a lot of their courseware and making it available for free. You can access it online on their websites themselves. A lot of them, such as Stanford and MIT, are making this stuff available on iTunes University. If you're an Apple person and you've got an iPad or a Mac or something at home, you can view it on there. But again, you can view a lot of the content just in a web browser itself. There's downloadable modules for this, support files for it, so I highly recommend taking a look at it. Again, a lot of it's just core foundational stuff on computer science and programming fundamentals. Go ahead and take a look at it. If you want to practice, if you want to use the stuff that we talked about here today, you don't need to spend big money on tools. Visual Studio Express is available for free. Simply visit that URL that you see there, and you can choose from the different options that are available. Now, at one time, Visual Studio Express was just one SKU. It was just one product you downloaded, and you could develop anything in it. Because our platforms have expanded so large on the different types of development that we can do today, there are different versions of that Visual Studio Express. So you want to make sure you grab the one that's more pertinent to what it is that you want to focus on. There's a Visual Studio Express for web, which allows you to basically do web application development. And then there's a Visual Studio Express for desktop, where you can create desktop apps, Windows Phone apps, and things like that. So again, they're free. Go ahead, download them, play with the resources, learn the coding, and get into the tools and start getting familiar with how they work. If you're using Visual Studio and you're working through C# or VB.NET, or even if you ventured into the world of C++, the link here for MSDN developer resources is priceless. There are tons of content on this MSDN website. Free downloads available, there's sample code available, there are hands-on labs, all kinds of different things that allow you to continue your learning as you start focusing on becoming a software developer. Great resources available on the MSDN site itself. Hey, do you know your stuff? Have you gone through this and you're feeling pretty comfortable? Then go ahead and try the exam. So you can register on Prometric as our exam delivery partner. Go to prometric.com and you can sign up and register for the 98-361 exam. What I highly recommend you do first, before you shell out of your pocket the money for the exam, is visit our practice exam providers. So we have a couple of practice exam providers. They are at the links that you see on here. Self-test and Measure Up create practice exams that closely resemble the experience and the content you might expect on the exam itself. So go ahead and take those exams, those practice exams, try them out first. Make sure you're ready before you take the actual exam itself. And I used to help folks prepare for certification exams in the past, and one of the things that I told them was, there's always a question about, well, where do I start studying? How much do I study? What should I study for the exam? Where should I focus my energies on? And this is where these practice exams really have the greatest benefit. Go take that practice exam first. And the items that you know and you pass, those are the things you don't really need to focus on. It's the areas that you fall down on, the questions that you get wrong, the areas that you go, I just don't understand what that's asking. That tells you where your energies need to go, what you should be focusing on to be successful in not just passing that exam, but learning the content. So, let's take the whole thing of, I want to just do what I need to do to pass the exam out of the equation and say that what I want to do is I want to focus on the content, I want to focus on the material, I want to learn it and I want to understand it so that the exam becomes just another thing I do on my way to becoming a software developer. That's basically what we have available. So this is, resources, ideas to help you get to where you want to be if you decide software development is a path you want to choose and what it is that you want to focus on and go down that road. Hopefully, you've gained some insight into what a software developer does from this module, what you can expect to possibly be doing as a software developer in the industry, or even on your own if you decide it's just a hobby, something you want to, keep doing for your day job, whatever that may be, and then do software development on the side. And, so hopefully we've kind of sparked a little bit of an interest in this as something that is something you want to pursue. And it has great rewards, it really does, to be able to sit down and solve a problem in software and create something that works. I know the first time I created a software application on the computer and saw it executing and saw it doing what I wanted it to do, it really was a great feeling, and it's nice to know that you can actually do something like that. Mm-hmm. It's a creative process. It's not pure science. There is a little bit of creativity to it as well. So, by all means, hopefully we've provided some information that is useful to you, and you can take it and you can run with it. And that's basically all I have. Paul, is there anything you'd like to add in closing?
Not really. Just check out the other Microsoft Virtual Academy videos, where we have some of the best content out there, and we're adding more every day. There's other modules and courses on software development as well, so please check those out also.
Great. Thanks, Paul, and thanks, everybody, and hope to see you at some future Virtual Academy Jumpstarts.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks.